For the Lich King. Intriguing. The restless dead await. The dead shall serve. The restless dead await. Every man lives, not every man truly dies. What does the shadow will? As the shadow wills. Intriguing. Give me something to do!
Welcome to our village. Insufficient
The
gold.
restless dead await. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. What does the shadow will? For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. The restless dead await. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. The dead shall serve. As the shadow wills.
First blood.
The shadows beckon. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. This better be good. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. The dead shall serve. For the Lich King. The restless dead await. The dead shall serve. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intriguing. The restless dead await. Let darkness guide me. Intriguing. As the shadow
Our warriors have engaged in
Intriguing. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. None shall survive. Intriguing. God. For the Lich King. None shall survive. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Tremble before the scourge. For the Lich King. They'll all be mine. None shall survive. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. The shadows beckon. Intriguing. The dead shall serve. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. As the shadow will. Intrigue. As the shadow will. For the Lich King. As the shadow will. For the Lich King. The restless dead awaits. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide. As the shadow will. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide. As the shadow will. This better be good. For the Lich King. The shadows beckon. As the shadow wills. What does the shadow will? As the shadow will. Let darkness guide. Die. They'll all be mine in the end. As the shadow will. Let darkness guide me. In truth, none shall survive. Darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow will. Let darkness guide me. Tremble before the scourge. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intrigue. This better be good. For the Lich King. The restless dead await. Intrigue. Die. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. None shall survive. Tremble before the scourge. Intrigue. Darkness guide me. As the shadow wills.
Wait till you see me in
This better be good. Intrigue. The restless dead await. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King.
Double kill.
As the shadow wills. Die. Intrigue. What does the shadow will? For the Lich King.
Our allies' town needs help.
As the shadow will.
Killing spree.
For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me.
Our allies' town needs help.
The shadows beckon. The dead shall serve. The restless dead await. For the King. The dead shall serve. Let darkness guide me. In truth. As the shadow will. In truth. As the shadow will. In truth. For the Lich King. They'll all be mine in the end. As the shadow wills. What does the shadow will? This better be good. For the Lich King. Intrigue. The restless dead await. What does the shadow will? For the Lich King. Intrigue. This better be good. as the shadow wills. For the Lich King, as the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. None shall survive. Tremble before the scourge, for the Lich King. As the shadow wills. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King, as the shadow wills. None shall survive. For the Lich King, as the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King,
Our allies
as the
town
shadow
needs
wills. Dead shall serve in truth. Restless dead await. It's better. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Tremble before the scourge. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. None shall survive. Intriguing. For the Lich King. The restless dead await. Intriguing. The dead shall serve. Let darkness guide me. The restless dead await. Intriguing. What does the shadow will? The restless dead await. What does the shadow will? As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide. For the Lich King. Die! Tremble before the scourge! Let darkness guide me.
Dominating.
For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King. The dead shall serve, as the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. Intrigue. For the Lich King, none shall survive, as the shadow wills. For the Lich King, let darkness guide me. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. Intrigue. Thy bidding. What does the shadow will? As the shadow wills.
Our allies
For the
town
Lich
needs
King.
help.
As the shadow wills. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. Die. Let darkness guide me. The restless dead await. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. None shall survive. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Tremble before the scourge. The dead shall serve. Let darkness guide me. What does the shadow do? Die. None shall survive. Let darkness guide me. Let darkness guide me. Die. As the shadow will. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow will.
Our allies town
Let darkness guide me. Intrigue. Let darkness guide me. Or the Lich King, as the shadow wills.
Unstoppable killing spree.
The shadows beckon. The restless dead await. King, this better be good. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. Tremble before the scourge. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King.
Our allies' town.
The restless dead await. What does the shadow do? None shall survive. Intriguing. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. The restless dead await. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Die. None shall survive. Let darkness guide me.
Our
Intriguing.
allies' town needs help.
Look around.
The dead shall serve. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Tremble before the storm. As the shadow wills. The shadows beckon. This better be good. Intriguing. What does the shadow do? None shall survive.
Our allies' town
Die.
needs help.
Let darkness guide. The dead shall serve. This better be good. Tremble before the scourge. What does the shadow do? As the shadow wills. The dead shall serve.
Mega kill.
None shall survive. This better be good. Intriguing. Die. For the Lich King. Aye.
Our warriors have
Shall
obeyed.
serve. None shall survive. Tremble before the scourge. Intriguing. This better be good.
Our allies' town needs
As
help.
the shadow wills. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. The restless dead await. The dead shall serve. Better. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. The restless dead await. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow
Unstoppable.
let darkness guide me. None shall survive. Die.
Wicked.
Before the scourge. Intriguing. Die. As the shadow wills.
I am ready.
The restless dead await. Intriguing. Let darkness guide them. Tremble before the scourge. None shall survive. As the shadow wills. Tremble before the scourge. Die.
Allies town needs help.
What does the shadow will? Intriguing. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. This better be good. Tremble before the scourge. Die. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. The dead shall
Monster
the
kill.
shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. None shall survive. Tremble before the scourge. Intriguing.
How may I serve?
Our allies town
Restless
needs help.
dead await. For the Lich King, let darkness guide me. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Die. Tremble before the scourge.
Godlike.
Let darkness guide me. What does the shadow do? This better. As the shadow will. Let darkness guide me. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. Intriguing. Tremble before the scourge. Die. None shall survive. As the shadow wills. Die. The restless dead await. This better be good. The dead shall serve. For the Lich
Allies
King.
town needs help.
Tremble before the scourge. As the shadow wills. This better be good. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Die. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Shall survive. Intriguing. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. For the Lich King. The dead shall serve. Die. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. This better be good. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. For the Lich King. What does the shadow will? Let darkness guide me. Intriguing. As the shadow will. None shall survive. The restless dead await. The dead shall serve. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. Intriguing.
Holy shit.
For the Lich King. Tremble Tremble before the scourge. Die. Tremble before the scourge. What does the shadow do? Let darkness guide me. Or the Lich King, as the shadow will. Or the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. Or the Lich King.
Fresh meat. Kill double kill.
Give me something to do!
Greetings, my lords.
The shadows beckon. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King, the dead shall serve. This better than good. I wish only the restless dead await. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King, as the shadow will. For the Lich King, as the shadow will. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. They'll all be mine in the end. None shall survive. For the
Double
Lich King,
kill.
as the shadow will. Intriguing. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King, let darkness guide me. As the shadow will. For the Lich King, as the shadow wills. This better. The restless dead await. For the Lich King. Tremble before the scourge. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide.
Fresh meat.
What does the shadow do? The shadows beckon, as the shadow wills.
Killing
The
spree.
dead shall serve. Intriguing, as the shadow wills. For the Lich King, as the shadow wills. Intriguing, for the Lich King. Let darkness guide. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King.
Double kill. Double kill. fresh meat.
The shadows beckon. Let darkness guide me. This better be good.
Fresh meat.
Intrigue.
Killing spree.
For the Lich King. Intrigue. The dead shall serve. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Guide. Let darkness guide me. Intrigue. For the Lich King. None shall survive. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intriguing.
Our allies' town
As the
needs help.
shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. What does the shadow will? Intriguing. As the shadow wills.
Our allies'
For the
town
Lich
needs
King.
help.
Intriguing. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. Let darkness
Our
guide me.
warriors have engaged.
They'll all be mine. As the shadow wills. Intriguing. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. Intriguing. As the shadow wills.
Fresh meat.
Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King.
Double kill. Dominating.
The shadows beckon. Intriguing.
My life for Nezu.
The devil shall stand. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Tremble before the scourge. None shall survive. Die. This better be. darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. None shall survive. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Tremble before the sun.
Unstoppable as meat.
Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me.
I am ready.
The restless dead awaits. For the Lich King. Darkness guide me.
Double kill.
The shadows beckon. For the Lich King. Intriguing. As the shadow wills. None shall survive. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills.
Aye?
Dead shall survive. Let darkness guide me. This
Tremble before the scourge.
For the Lich King. Intrigue. For the Lich King. Intrigue. Let darkness guide me. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King.
Dominating.
Let darkness guide me. The dead shall survive. Die. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King. This better be good. The restless dead await. What does the shadow will? Intriguing. Let darkness guide me. None shall survive. Intriguing. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Intriguing. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. This better. Die. For the Lich King. As the shadow
fresh meat.
The shadows beckon.
Double kill.
As the shadow moves, let darkness guide. As the shadow moves, none shall
Double
survive.
kill.
The restless dead await, intrigued, for the Lich King. Darkness guide. As the shadow moves, intrigued.
Guide me.
This better be good. Restless dead await. Let darkness guide. For the Lich. Let darkness guide. For the Lich. Let darkness guide me. Intriguing. They'll all be mine in the end. As the shadow moves, or the Lich King. As the shadow moves,
Where shall my blood be spilled?
dead shall serve. This better be good.
What does the shadow
Will the dead shall serve.
I wish only to serve?
This better be good. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills, for the Lich King, let darkness guide me. The dead shall serve. As the shadow wills, for the Lich King, as the shadow wills, let darkness guide me. Intrigue. Let darkness guide me. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills. Intrigue. Die. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me.
Dominating. Own
What does the shadow will?
As the shadow wills.
Tremble before the scourge!
This better be good. Let darkness guide me. The restless dead wait for the Lich King. As the shadow wills, let darkness guide me. Intrigue for the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow wills, darkness guide me. As the shadow wills.
Where shall my blood be spilled?
killing spree.
The shadows beckon. As the shadow wills. This better
Fresh
be good.
meat.
Let darkness guide me. Rest in death, wait. This better be good. For the Lich King. What does the shadow will? Darkness guide me. The restless dead await. Intrigue. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. For the Lich King. None shall survive. Let darkness guide me. What does the shadow will? For the Lich King. As the shadow wills. Die. This better be good. As the shadow will. Intrigue. As the shadow will. Intrigue. Let darkness guide me. As the shadow will. Intrigue. Let darkness guide me. For the Lich King. The restless dead await. As the shadow
Double kill.